Yeah, man, my hearing was all like...
I wonder if that's what people with a traumatic brain injury feel like.
I don't
Or a
know.
stroke, or I don't know. I've never passed out either, so I don't have any frame of reference.
I definitely feel like I was just dehydrated.
You just had this blank stare about you. It was concerning.
Just felt like shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the last time when we came off the mat, I was just like, oh my gosh. And Bobby, the instructor, was like, it's good, man. I only got 2 minutes left. I was like, dude, I'm not going another round. I was like, I'm done.
Who was the last person you sparred with?
I don't know. Some white belt that just completely destroyed me.
So what did we do today?
I don't know.
We went to a jiu-jitsu class.
We did.
My first one ever. Your not first one ever.
You're probably not even in frame right now, but...
See, should we move the camera?
I can. Let me see. Stay right where you're at.
Okay. I just want to be able to look at you and be close enough to my microphone.
Yeah. Here. There.
We just don't get the cute corner. Get the farts out, okay.
You see why I like Kat? She's hilarious.
Because she laughs at fart jokes.
She's a child like me.
Yes, her sense of humor is, that's for sure. And she will just have this deep belly laugh at just about anything. Okay. What did we do today?
We went fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fun.
We caught some fish.
Yeah.
Which we did not eat for dinner. We ate different fish
We ate
for
trout
dinner.
for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm tying knots bad, but I lost the first 2 flies that I threw in.
Mm-hmm.
Fish one hit it, just yomped it, set the hook, nothing. Fly gone. Tied on another one, same thing. Set the hook, fly gone. I think I wasn't leaving enough on my tag end, so I'm cinching the knots down, and then I check the knot, but I don't know. But we figured it out.
And we figured out because the best part was one of those flies showed up on the surface of the water and we rescued
Later,
it.
yeah.
Some SEAL Team 6 level search and rescue.
That was fun though.
Mm-hmm. May or may not have been trespassing.
No, we were not. It's like the video of the dad and his kid fishing at the pond. Have you seen this? What are we doing, son? Trespassing.
You were supposed to say fishing.
Supposed to say fishing. No, we were not trespassing.
What we wanted to talk about on the podcast that we did today was we went to Jujitsu.
We did good.
And it was the first time I'd ever been to Jujitsu. There'd been a lot of build-up around Jujitsu.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of excitement, a lot of nerves, a lot of newness. You'd done some when you were in the Air Force.
So it was new for you. So what was it like for you? I feel like you can even tell now that I'm still like kind of dehydrated. Look at my legs.
We say as we're drinking old fashioned. How was Jiu-Jitsu for me? It was exciting. It was novel. It's a cool way to use my strength. It was a cool way to connect with people. It was cool to learn a new skill. I think we're both really good at pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, especially physically. Mm-hmm. So a new physical challenge, I'm always like, yes, let's do it. I will crush a man's head between my thighs tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a little bit intimidating, just because it wasn't like, sure, we went to a foundations class, but it wasn't a beginner's
Fundamentals class.
Fundamentals,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, they assume you know something. It's
Yeah.
a 10-week rotation, the fundamentals classes.
I don't think I even knew that.
Yeah.
So I was the only person there that it was their first class ever, I'm pretty sure.
It was the second class for that other girl that you talked to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember her name, but her spouse's or partner's name was Todd, I think. She was Brianna.
Something with a B. Mm-hmm.
But you sparred with her. You got to do a round with her, didn't you?
No.
Yeah, you did. You were with her at one point when
for
we were
partner stuff.
Yeah.
In the beginning,
right?
But not sparring at the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you end up with her for a second?
When he said find a different partner.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. So what was that?
And I was like, oh my god, find someone that's not good like me.
Well,
nerve-wracking, because I could just go to you and that was
sure.
easy to be your partner, but to be someone else's, was like, ugh. Yeah.
What was that like, getting to drill with her?
Her specifically was great because she was very what I needed. She was definitely the like extrovert, golden retriever energy,
okay.
which serves me very well in these situations as the introvert, recovering type A people pleaser perfectionist. So she was exactly the energy I needed.
Yeah.
Just lots of like, this is fun, it's no big deal, you're doing great. But I was really impressed with just how many women were in the class in general. There was that one woman that was a brown belt that was legit. So her and the other woman that ran the place, who was a blue,
she was a blue belt.
Blue belt. Both of them tapped on me, like let me take it, which I think speaks to their humility.
Sure.
But also speaks to they want to create a good, welcoming, inclusive environment for women in a space where they might not necessarily find themselves all that often.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think it was great when we did the warm-ups. It was great when you and I were partners. All that felt cool, great, okay, this is new, this is different, but I can handle it. And we just spar with other people, and I was like, oh my gosh. That's when I got my shit rolled a couple times. It's a dose of humble pie, for sure. For sure, for sure. And I'm sure even the black belt that was teaching the class gets to eat a dose of humble pie all the time.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, he probably goes to these competitions, and, he's not the best guy on earth either.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that wasn't the vibe of the class.
Yeah.
It wasn't competitive. It wasn't, I'm better than you, I'm trying to prove something. None of that was there.
Yeah.
It really was, we're all here to learn and to practice.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, really cool and inspiring. Just I don't know if that's the culture at every gym, but what they seem to be intentionally cultivating there. I appreciated.
Yeah. That's a good point. They are very intentional about it, cultivating that environment. The gym I was at in Alaska was similar, but not as much intention around that. It was, it's still very welcoming. They're still very welcoming of new people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does seem like at this one, they really put a lot of effort into making the beginners feel like, they're welcome there and they belong there. And everybody wants you to learn.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so coming from a position of being really involved in managing a yoga studio, things that I noticed about the woman who checked us in, the fact she's one of the co-owners.
I'm not sure, is she? Do you know?
I think so.
Okay.
Was checking us in at the desk, gave us this whole spiel, which she's obviously had to give hundreds of times before.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like, oh my god, I have to tell these people how to freaking put on a gi again.
Tie their belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She seemed legitimately excited to share this with us.
Yeah.
And it was fine that she had to tell us the same thing that she's told dozens of other people that week.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. And then the fact that she jumped in on class too and was sparring with people and rolling with people. It's like, that's impressive.
I love how the one thing I do really like about this gym that was a little bit different from the one that I went to in Alaska is how they utilize their upper belts. And even though Amanda, like I said, I'm pretty sure she's a blue belt.
I thought the colors would be easier to distinguish.
It's kind of hard to discern
like,
some of them.
Is that purple or is that brown?
Yeah.
Is that blue or is that purple?
The other girl, I feel like I heard her being called Erica maybe or something like that. But she's a brown belt, but like her belt also just looks tan.
Yeah.
But
I guess after you wash it, I don't know.
but there's no tan belt, and her belt's obviously not blue or purple, so it's like, yeah, she's a brown belt. But I just love how, like, they're, you know, they have the few people walking around, and it was like at any moment when we were trying to figure out transitioning from the omoplata to the triangle, that was really challenging. But there was always just someone there to be like, oh, here, hold on, you know, do this or that, pull your ankle in, move yourself this way, and
they're invested in your success. It wasn't just the two people teaching the class.
Yeah.
It was all these other experienced people. There were 3 other people
yeah,
walking around saying, let me help you.
yeah,
Yeah. That was impressive. That's investment in your community.
I mean, nobody's going to go work at a jiu-jitsu gym because they need a job.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, like you were saying, Amanda, she welcomed us in. She gives this whole spiel. She feels genuinely excited that you're there.
Can't
Yeah,
the
she's
Yamies.
like genuinely excited that you're there, and yeah, it makes so much sense because I could imagine, you know, having like a running coaching business like that. Every new runner that I talk to, I would be stoked to talk to them. Like, wouldn't matter if they were like the first or 10,000th new runner. I'd be stoked to talk to them.
Yeah.
Because it's just you're introducing people to new versions of themselves. You know, that's exciting.
I think that's why you were put on this earth, is to do that.
But what else did you like about jiu-jitsu? What else stood out to you?
The physical challenge, the community aspect, which we kind of touched on. Just as a woman, not coming from a place of growing up wrestling or doing any sort of these martial arts or physical combat type sort of sports. I mean, don't get me wrong, me and my brother beat the shit out of each other, but there was no skill or nuance to it at all.
Yeah.
I feel like it was just a healthy level of respect of, oh, people can dedicate their lives to this. And there's that level of skill. I mean, talking to people like you said that have been doing this for 2 years and they're still a white belt.
Yeah.
Just that there's so much depth that you can get into it. And even just experiencing that in our own bodies of, okay, we did it one way and it worked. But if you do it one way and you just move your wrist a little bit, or you move your foot placement a little bit, it totally changes it.
Yeah.
It's just impressive.
Yeah.
I could see how people could become masters of this and could dedicate their whole lives to it. I thought that was super impressive. Yeah. And just seeing how beat you were at the end of it.
I felt so destroyed.
Was impressive, because you're a really in shape dude with really good endurance. And to see you at that point, that the closest thing I've seen to that is after you ran, how long was Mount Mitchell? 35? 35 miles? It's like, damn, and we just did that in an hour?
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was probably exerting so much more strength than I needed to just because I have no technique, you know? But yeah, it's fun. Gosh, I was so miserable. Like, oh God.
It's like running through my head. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to pull the car over. I'm going to lay the seat back. I'm going to try and get him level.
I was okay. I was very intentionally breathing, and with every good nose breath and exhale, I could feel my body like settle in and relax. But yeah, I just felt like I had this really tight, like almost like if my back and was pulling on my neck and my neck was pulling on my head, and it was just like I felt like something was just squeezing the back of my head. Yeah. And yeah, my calves are sore, man. Like I was just trying to bridge these people off. I just couldn't. So the thing that I rolled with the guy that was helping Bobby, the instructor. He was a purple belt, and I got to spar with him. And he was going really easy. He was just sitting there letting me work and just opposing me, and I kept just trying to sweep him. I could not. His hips were so heavy. And I even said, I was like, dude, your hips are so heavy. And then like I think the very next round I got with Amanda, the blue belt, probably weighs 125 pounds. I was like, dude, I cannot get your hips off the ground. Like, what in the world? Like, the same thing. Like, had her locked in, like, fuck, dude. Like, I just couldn't move her.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For your calves to be sore, which are some of the best calves known to the history of man. I think so.
Thanks.
That's impressive. But in the spirit of what we seek to bring out on this podcast, talking about the masculine and the feminine, something that we talked about afterwards as we were debriefing the class that I thought was really interesting. We were comparing jujitsu to acro yoga, which is something that I have more experience in and I have a lot of fun showing you. And it's similar in so many ways. Just the way you are putting this puzzle together is the way that you've described it, with two bodies working together in space and time. And there's so many similarities, but in acro yoga, the dynamic is different. There's a base and there's a flyer. And in the concept of that particular acro yoga session, those roles don't really change.
Okay.
But in jiu-jitsu, you're kind of starting off on this even playing field. You're both doing the same things and after the same things and capable of the same things. Whereas in acro, the base has this really masculine role of supporting and providing safety, where the feminine has this role of like, I need to trust, I need to surrender, I need to know that my base has got me, and then I'm gonna make this fucking beautiful because of this great support of the base.
Yeah.
But jiu-jitsu is like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just two people.
Yeah.
They're coming in. Sure, the belt status could have an influence on it, but it's just two people coming in, going for the same thing. So I thought that was really interesting, that there wasn't this big masculine feminine dynamic. I mean, I felt more in my masculine for sure.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I thought that was an interesting comparison and contrast. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, I think you said it. You had a better. I feel like when we were on the drive home, you said the same thing, but in a more sort of elegant way.
Okay.
A more.
Trying to remember what I said.
What did you say? I don't remember. I remember you were saying the same comment, but you added something that made it a little more profound. So we were talking about the fact that this dynamic of how when we were doing the rounds and we were sparring with people and you would have a new partner every time basically. And you basically said you come up to someone who's a complete stranger you've never met and you go, hey, Brandon, nice to meet you. Now let me get in your crotch.
Yes.
Basically,
okay. Yeah.
But at the same time, there's zero sexual like overtone.
Okay.
That's what you said.
Yes. Okay, I got you now. Yeah.
And it's such an intimate thing to do with another person.
Yeah.
You're like so intimately connected with them.
Yep.
But so I had asked you, what was it like rolling with men you didn't know, with strange men? And that was kind of what you said. You're like, yeah, it's like, it's not even a thing that really is there because, well, what did you say? Because it's...
Yeah, I think it's the culture that is set, the expectations that are set in that environment.
Yeah.
Where some of these people, I didn't even know their name.
Right.
It literally was just like, wrap your legs around my waist and draw me into you. And then anything's fair game.
Yeah. Other than small joint manipulation and hands.
And punching and kicking and sure. But
yeah.
Yeah, it just felt strangely like, oh, this is the accepted cultural practice in this space.
Yeah.
I can feel safe because there are rules and boundaries surrounding this that up until this point, every single person has shown me that they adhere to. These cultural norms that we agree to within these four walls. So there wasn't sexual tension. There wasn't sexual energy. And I think virtually any other situation I can imagine in my life in which I am physically that close to a man I don't know.
Yeah.
There's like what's
Sure,
going on?
sure.
This is weird. This is awkward. I'm going to giggle. I don't know what's
Oh,
going on.
yeah.
Just all the things that women have to think about and how to protect themselves. But
Okay.
that wasn't there in this.
Yeah.
Versus, I think, with acro yoga, when you create this dynamic of the base supporting the partner, being the strong and steady, letting the flyer do these beautiful, incredible things that they couldn't do without the base. That's the definition of the masculine feminine polarity. So when you create that polarity, that's when you can create that sexual tension.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be this potential, I feel like, sexual energy in
Yeah.
that sort of dynamic,
Yeah.
whereas jujitsu, they don't care.
Yeah.
That wasn't there. And I sparred with probably half a dozen different people,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, some of them women, but
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, would you say that while you were there, you felt safe and
Yes.
protected, and
Which is crazy
and-
considering that the point of jujitsu is physical domination
Yeah,
or
you
submission
could say that.
or
Yeah, it's an aspect for sure.
sure. Yeah. But and there definitely were men that were okay, so the experience was there were some people that said "Oh, it's my first time." They said,
Yeah.
"Okay, I'll go really slow. I'll walk you through some stuff. Let's just try it out. No pressure, no worries."
Yeah,
Great experience. There were some other men that were just like, "I ain't got time for this."
immediately swept you.
Yep, I was just like
Just
on my
done.
back before I even knew what happened, and they're like, "Okay, see you, bye." I want someone that's actually a challenge that's
Fair.
worthy of my time.
Yeah,
But still, even in those scenarios, I didn't feel embarrassed or humiliated
Yeah.
or anything. It was just, I know what I need to do, which still feels like a healthy expression of masculinity to me.
that's interesting. There's almost an aspect of those experiences of both experiences where you have the person that's like, oh, cool, it's your first time. I'll show you some things. I'll let you work. And then there is, the guy, it's my first time. Cool, you're on your back. You're submitted. Get out of here. Both are meeting you where you're at.
Yes.
Both give you a valuable lesson.
Yes. Because even the men that said, 30 seconds, you're done.
Yeah.
There wasn't a meanness to
Right.
it. There wasn't a cruelty
Yeah.
to it. Just like, this is the way the world is.
Yeah. They're just doing their thing.
I'm not going to treat you differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh, that's an interesting perspective to take on it.
Oh, yeah.
That you.
Because, okay, the 2 times that I got a tap were both super experienced women. Amanda and this brown belt.
Okay.
Both of these women that could have easily, without very much effort,
Yeah.
won me over.
Yeah. I mean, Amanda didn't let me tap her. That's
Exactly.
For sure.
We're just like, no, I want to create this experience for you. I want to create this environment for you. And I think
Yeah.
that's the healthy version of the feminine is the way we can support each other, collaboration over competition,
Yeah.
which is something that I think is super healing for the feminine.
Oh, for sure. Well,
And I think it just showed humility on their part, too.
Mm-hmm.
And community is more important to them than winning or losing.
Well, maybe that's an interesting thing because, one of the things that I'm real big on is that I think one of the things that could be healing between men and women is collaboration, is more of a willingness to collaborate. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you mentioned humility, though, because the gym does feel like a place where there's a lot of humility.
Mm-hmm. I love that about it, honestly. That these people that were so much more experienced didn't just lead with their ego.
Yeah.
They led with, I want to teach you. I want to share this with you.
Yeah.
I want to create an experience for you.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it was about them. They're like, okay, I know I have my time. I can go
Yeah.
roll with these super experienced people, but this is not about that.
Yeah.
This is maybe like service or
Oh,
doing something bigger than
that's
me.
interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's interesting to compare and contrast my experience, where people were patient and soft and gentle, with your experience. Nobody let you off the hook. They're
No.
like, this 6'4" motherfucker, absolutely not.
No.
He's got to work for it.
Yeah, I lost every match, every round, every spar.
Even having more experience and having some skill and knowing some moves that you could have done, even if they weren't executed perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got shit on the whole time.
How did that feel? What was that like for you?
It's fine. It's what I expect. I mean, I think that the interesting thing, and and I would like to keep this more about jiu-jitsu and the experience we had today than extrapolating to the world at large. But I think it's a fractal, like everything else. And people love to say that, like, you know, there's white privilege or male privilege and all this stuff, when in fact, like, we're out here getting the shit kicked out of us because nobody gives us anything, because everybody thinks we get everything for free. So nobody gives us anything. But yeah, so in that sense, like, yeah, Amanda, the 125-pound woman blue belt, had her hips heavy and did not let me throw her around at all. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember how she beat me. I think she got into side control or something. But man, not an inch, dude. And then you know, so the interesting thing is, like, I feel like the person that gave me the most opportunity was the purple belt, the guy, I don't know his name, but the guy that was
like co-leading the class,
that was assisting Bobby. I feel like he was the one that just set himself there and let me work, and he just made himself difficult to deal with. But he didn't try to pass my guard or submit me. He just let me do my things. And nothing. I don't mind it. I don't want the easy way out, because I'm not saying that, like, you got the easy way out. I think it's great, a literal beginner, a literal first time, especially a woman. We have to acknowledge that men and women are different. And the women there don't want to, when another woman comes in, they don't want to scare you away.
Right.
They want you to feel capable and powerful. They want you to come back. They want you to feel encouraged. You know, and I think that's great. So, like, I take no offense to the fact that, like, they worked with you and got you to do that. I mean, the whole reason I wanted you to go was to have a good time. But man, I just felt so beat up after. But I don't care. I want it. I want the hard challenge. I want the real. Do you
think that there's something different that motivates men and women then? That experience of you being like, holy shit, I was beat the fuck up.
Yeah.
That makes you want to go back. Whereas my experience of, like, oh, people were soft and patient with me is what makes me want to go back.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't need the soft patience. Not in that environment. I don't go there to need to feel that. I know I'm a complete amateur with the bare minimum experience. I mean, even when we were like, when you and I were, when we were going through the drilling and I had you in the arm bar with my feet over you, and Bobby, you know, the black belt, the instructor, was kind of helping us. And I was like thinking about, like, he was just like, okay, you know, hips towards the ceiling, not towards your feet, towards the ceiling. And I was like, yeah, it's a bridge. It's like hard, but it's hard to bridge when your feet aren't on the ground. He's like, yeah, it's a bridge. You've wrestled before. And I was like, nope, I just watched too much YouTube. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't need somebody to think I know more than what I do. I want that black belt instructor to know that I know nothing, you know? Because, like, ultimately, like, I think one of the things that I've learned as a guy is if you're deceptive and you bullshit your skills and abilities, like, it's going to come out, you know? So people are going to know eventually that, oh, you can't back up. You can't do what you say you can do. You can't back yourself up. And so I'd rather be way up front and be like, I don't really have anything to offer here, but I'm here to learn. I'm here, like, in good faith to be a student, like, just to be a humble student.
Yeah.
So that's what I get out of it, is, like, you know, tonight for me was just like, I knew I was going to get my ass beat, because, like, that's what I don't know how to do anything else. And that's just a normal experience for a white belt. You know, like, white belt is about learning to survive. And then, so there's somebody that's talked about this. I don't know if it was one of the Gracies, but it's like, yeah, as a white belt, you just learn to survive. And then maybe as a blue belt, it was like you learn to escape. And then as a purple, it's like all these, and it's like the guy, it literally wasn't until black belt that he was like, then you learn to attack. You know, so there's all these stages. It's survival, it's escape, it's, God, well, I don't know what the next two he said were, but he had one for every belt, you know, and it was pretty interesting.
That felt super powerful and resonant.
Yeah. So, I go in there just, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not a member at a gym. Like, I don't even do this regularly, so I can't expect to do anything other than just go in there, get my ass handed to me.
Have really strong feet.
You know, try the few moves that I know how to set up, but I don't know how to do well enough to actually execute. And somebody with good hips is just going to neutralize me super easy, you know. But it's fine. It's a good time. I like it.
You can tell me if this is a reach, but I'm wondering if there's a connection to be made between what you just said of these different levels of belts and what you're able to do and some sort of evolution of a man's life. You know, so we talk about the feminine and we talk about the maiden, the mother, the matriarch. And you and I have talked about what is the male equivalent of that. I think it's something like the knight is the first step. And something like...
I don't know, you said it. I don't know what you say.
Oh, what did I say? It was like one, but the last one was the king. Or maybe the king is the second one, and then the last one is the healer or the medicine man or the old wise man.
It makes me think of the analogy, sort of the synopsis that Jordan Peterson did of The Lion King, where he talks about Mufasa, the good king, Scar, the bad king, Rafiki as the sort of the king of wisdom, the king of knowledge, the king of the outlands. A king is in his own right, but not a king in competition with Mufasa. Simba, the prodigal son, Nala, the feminine wisdom. And the thing that I loved about that, he talks about Mufasa as the king, but then Rafiki as the king of like wisdom and knowledge. He paints this like gorgeous picture that the reason that Mufasa is a good king is because he has a connection with the king of wisdom, the king of knowledge. So this Rafiki, you remember Rafiki, right? So he's the baboon that's in the tree and no, look deeper, you know. And he's this metaphor for like the ancient wisdom, you know. And he's like, so the Mufasa's a good king. He stays grounded because he has the connection with Rafiki. He talks to him. He's his counsel. You know, he's humble to the knowledge, the wisdom that this king of the outlands provides to him. Whereas Scar is the bad king. He's the nihilism and resentment and bitterness. And who's cut off from Rafiki, from the king of wisdom, you know, and deep knowledge. And so I don't know. That's what that made me think about when you just mentioned
interesting.
That. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's stages in a man's life, but as far as comparing it to like belts, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we could create metaphors and draw parallels, you know, any way we wanted to, but.
This is how you write papers for grad school.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
I mean, we talked earlier today about how wisdom in the Bible has a very explicit feminine nature, which I thought was super interesting.
But then we also figured out that the Hebrew word for wisdom is a feminine. So Hebrew is a gendered language.
Yeah, just from the translation.
And so it's either that Solomon was taking that literally and just leaning into the fact that it's grammatically feminine, or potentially he was in some way personifying it, but we're not real sure, and it's kind of open to interpretation. So men shouldn't be offended by wisdom being female, but women also shouldn't be hyped up by it being female.
I thought that was a good way to frame it.
Okay, fine, that's fine.
Cool. Yeah.
But regardless, it's maybe that's an interesting theme to draw. Is that's a thing we were discussing about the Bible earlier, is humility and wisdom. And then we exposed ourselves, you know, to an experience tonight that's very humbling. And if you're willing to go to a jiu-jitsu gym as a complete beginner and humble yourself and just be open to the wisdom of those that are more experienced, you just have a good time where you learn a lot of things, you know? And so I think we could extrapolate that out to the rest of all the other shit we get into.
Yeah. And I think what's beautiful about that too is that it's not gendered.
It's not gendered.
Have humility and you will learn.
Yeah.
That's human.
That's just human.
Yeah. We kind of touched on earlier about how the unhealthy feminine craves competition over collaboration because there's something to prove. And in your Lion King analogy, you were saying, Rafiki is a king in his own right because he's a king of something different that these other kings could never be a king of.
Yeah.
Do you feel like competition is healthy and necessary to the masculine? What role does that play?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
How so?
It's how we establish hierarchy.
And that's necessary for the masculine.
You tell me.
You tell me. You're the masculine.
Well, yes. I say yes. I think... Yeah,
what immediately comes to mind when you say that is when we ran the half marathon in June and you said, I was going to run the first couple miles with you, and then the starting bell rang and I just had to go and I had to keep up with the front guys.
Yeah.
And that showed me your competitive nature.
Mm-hmm.
What were you going to say about it?
Well, so I think the reason I said, well, you tell me, is because for me, and I think every other guy, it's like, oh yeah, competition is huge in our lives.
Like your peacocks? Like you're trying to figure out who has the prettiest feathers to attract the
biscuits
ladies.
in the sink.
In the sink?
She's going to lick the butter. You trying to get an old fashioned? You better not lick that orange. Little nerd. She could...
We got the orange right this time. These old fashions are really good.
These are good.
These are good.
I think they are. I think we're both a little goofy.
Who, Sebastian? Who is the bartender we have to thank for these?
Cesar. Yeah.
Thanks, Cesar.
Yeah. I'll tell him he said so. I am going to tell him. So here's the thing. I feel like even like showing gratitude, even for something as small as, hey man, can you help me like make a better old fashioned? Yeah, man, just 1-to-1 brown sugar and some water. Make yourself some, syrup. Put it in the fridge. Save it for later. Mm-hmm. Orange peel. Oh, it's an orange, not a lemon pill. Yeah, it's an orange pill. Oh, okay. And yeah, man, if you don't make the syrup with the sugar, then you just try to put the sugar in there. Sometimes it doesn't dissolve. It's like, yeah, that happened to us on the first one. Yeah, we use white sugar too. Oh, yeah, you can't use white sugar. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, it's such a small thing, but it's just like, cool, man. Thanks for sharing some knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
So
that
yeah.
doesn't feel like competition.
That's not competition.
Then what is competition?
Well, okay. It's why I like little boys wrestle. Like, we have to know where we stand. Also, we also just have to, it's one of the ways in which we learn to socialize. We learn our own strengths, our own capabilities, the fact that we are powerful and can hurt people if we're not careful. Like, I think about the fact that, I got to spar with one of these blue belts who, I mean, I don't know, to me seemed like a high level blue belt, because he started in my guard and within 30 seconds he had me in an armbar. Like, he just like crawled around my body, but he was so gentle. Like, he didn't crank on it or anything. He just got it. He was just like, you're in the position. Like, I don't have to like crank on anything. It wasn't, honestly, I think he was the most gentle spar I had. Like, the least amount of effort.
Ooh, yeah.
The most smooth.
There's something in that.
Yeah, like, I did my thing. I bam, bam. Oh, And yeah, he just moved around me. Just pulled me into an arm bar. Didn't put any pressure. I mean, I could have fought and did that, but like, that's not the point, know? And I think that's because, at this point, like, he's confident in his skills. I'm okay with my capabilities. I have enough humility to be like, yeah, I'm like, this guy obviously is more skilled than me. Like, I don't need to like try to, curl him up. Like, he, I probably outweighed him by like 25 pounds. I don't need to try to like, curl him or like, just like, no, man, he executed the technique, and that's the point. So, I gave him the I was like, no big deal. And then he was like, good job, man. I was like, yeah, you too, bud. But there's such a clear understanding. Like, it's so easy for me as a guy to be like, he's a blue belt. that's basically all I need to know. But if I didn't know that, just the way he moved tells me what I need to know. And when we're little, and man, I should figure out the name of the guy. I can figure it out. But there's a guy who does studies and research on kids and little boys and why they wrestle and why like physical play is so important for little boys, because it's how little boys learn themselves, learn their place, learn other people, learn to be gentle when they need to be gentle, learn not to be too rough. I mean, it seems like there's some evidence to show that little boys that are deprived of physical play, of wrestling as kids, grow up to be more violent men.
They don't have the healthy outlet.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's suppressed.
And so this sort of feminized world where it's like, oh, little boys shouldn't be wrestling at, recess in school and this and that, and any show of aggression or this or that is unhealthy and should be suppressed. It's like, I don't think you realize, like, you're not eliminating this, you're just compacting it and pressing it down, and when it explodes, it's going to be so much more violent. So I think for men, the competition, it's how we find out where we stand. It's no different than dogs. When you take your dog to the dog park and they run out there and they're sniffing assholes, and some of them are trying to stick their chins over the other one's backs, and some of them are submissive, and some are like, they figure it out, It's the same way for guys. It's what we do. It's how you grow into being a healthy adult man that doesn't feel insecure or the need to overshadow others, is because you've already figured out where you're at. And and I think that's the point of like having fathers in the house and like strong, competent, like good fathers, good men, that can help their sons figure out that dynamic, that, hey, like, it is okay for you to wrestle, and if you have to fight and defend your sister or your mother or this or that or your friend at school, like, it's just so natural. We're just suppressing so much nature, and it just has these detrimental effects. But it's the role of a healthy man to guide his son like that. It's, again, the capacity for violence and the discipline to know when and where. And I think guys figure that out through wrestle and through play. And also, guys usually end up being friends after they fight.
It clears that energy.
The other thing is, like, when you clash with a guy, usually it's because you're clashing because you are sort of evenly matched. And as a guy, if you have somebody that you really clash with and y'all settle it and you figure it out, well, now you've figured out who you want to have your back. Unless they're just a piece of shit, a psychopath, or a narcissist. But if you're both just literally finding out where you stand, once you settle it, well, now okay, well, if some shit actually gets real, that's somebody I want with me, because I've had to go toe to toe with him. I didn't like it. Maybe I came out on top barely, but fuck, that sucked. So, if it ever actually gets real, that's who I want with me. Guys operate like that. We become friends after we beat the shit out of each other. We're just like, you good? Yeah, I'm good. All right, well, I don't feel mad at you anymore.
Exactly.
You really don't. Like, it's like, wow, that's out of me. You know?
Ever seen two dogs fight, and then when they separate, once they figured out the winner, they do this big shake, and they're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. They clear their nervous system. They reset. They have new information now.
Yeah.
They're more informed.
Yeah.
They continue forward.
We're both going to hurt each other, and it's better if we team up.
Interesting. Yeah. Because I don't think women have that. I don't think they have this hierarchy.
Yeah. What's it like for y'all?
I mean, there's...
What's the equivalent?
Who's prettier?
Oh.
For sure.
Okay. How does that work? Yeah, because guys couldn't care less. Interesting.
I mean, I think for us, it's like... I have become aware of this, and I haven't necessarily been able to do anything about it, but I've been aware of it, of... You walk into a social situation with women that you don't know, and my subconscious first gut instinct is to say, who am I prettier than and who am I not prettier than?
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, because with guys, it's who could I take and who would I not want to try?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's the same.
Okay.
But sometimes there's this weird undercurrent of, okay, she's pretty, but she's a bitch.
Okay.
Or the women that really just embody their femininity and really live their truth, they just glow.
Okay.
And that's something you can't take from them.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And I love seeing that in other women.
Hmm.
Hmm. But I think the strength that is possible from women coming together is forget the competition. I don't think that's serving us. I don't think that's helpful for women. Where is there the collaboration? Where is the, I see you. You look damn good in that dress.
Yeah.
I can never pull it off. Great for you. And that takes nothing away from yourself to recognize the strengths of another woman. I think we're stronger when we support each other together.
Of course. So, what's the equivalent when guys clash and end up becoming allies? How do women clash and end up becoming allies? Is there an equivalency there? Or is it a whole different process?
I don't know. I feel like women, the closest thing I can come up with is women clash when they tell stories about another woman from the place of their own insecurities. And they say, oh, she must be good at blank. She must date someone that's like blank. She must whatever. But when we can come together and have an actual conversation, heart to heart, woman to woman, and say, oh, at the end of the day, we're motivated by the same things. We want the same things. We're fallible in the same ways.
Mm-hmm.
And we can say, I can help you in this, and you can help me in this. Then we're okay.
Hmm.
We're not at odds at each other anymore. But I don't think it's as salient as it is in men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, not as obvious.
Yeah. Certainly not as physical, not as tangible.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Does the same dynamic, does the same process, I mean, we've talked about a pretty clear and easy to distinguish or easy to observe process in men. Do you think that's even a process that happens with women?
This is the thing. This has been something that I feel like I've been thinking about recently is things that you show to the light of the day have less power.
Okay.
Things that are just internal to you and are shameful and subversive totally control you. The thing with women is we go into a social situation and we have this subconscious moment, okay, I'm scanning the room. Who am I prettier than? Who am I less pretty than?
Okay.
That's totally internal. You don't share that with anyone, ever.
So y'all are all doing it.
But we don't talk about it.
Okay.
So it is this shameful, subversive thing that takes our power away. So the brave thing to do that I've found is go develop a relationship or connection with the pretty girl. And either you say, okay, she's incredible, that's amazing, great for her.
Yeah.
And coming from this place of, that takes nothing away from me.
Yeah.
Remembering there's no scarcity, there's no lack.
Yeah.
She can go have her amazing, incredible life, and I'm so happy for her. And that doesn't mean I'm any less than.
Yeah.
That's the power.
Okay.
Or, on a bad day, you go try and have some common ground with this woman and you realize you're just in judgment, you're just in blame, you're just telling stories about this other woman of, well, she's self-centered, well, she's this, well, she's this, well, she's that, I'm not that, I'm not that. But that's just feeding your own insecurities at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But I've not tried with a consistent, repeated effort to turn that off. And I've wondered what it would look like if I could turn that off. But I wonder if it's also an innate biological piece that has a place. If this is the feminine version of the dudes knowing who could I take and who could I not take. If women come into a room and say, who's the most desirable biological mate in this scenario? And where do I rank compared to her? Is there value in that? I don't know.
So I could offer you this. I think the thing with guys of going in the room, who could I take, who could I not, it ends eventually.
Mm.
I mean, I don't think that way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I think that fades when you start to get a better sense of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Okay.
then you start to think, well, why would I need to take you? You know?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't become like, oh, who could I and who couldn't I? It's like, well, why would
That's
I?
an ego thing versus a
Yeah.
wisdom thing.
And so it feels like once you do sort of settle with yourself a little bit more as a guy, then it's like, well, why would I? What would be the circumstances that would cause that?
Mm-hmm.
That would solicit that? And how can I not participate in those circumstances?
Mm-hmm.
That feels like a thing that happens when you start thinking more as the kingdom builder.
Mm-hmm. Say more about that.
Like, so, well, just, I have you. You're amazing. I don't need to worry about what these other guys have or don't have, or why I might or might not need to be able to handle them. Because it's not a thing that internally to me defines me anymore. You know, I guess it's a recognition that there's so much else beyond the physicality. Like, sure, as guys we're young, we establish physical hierarchies, but like, I'm an adult now. You know, and there are things that are more important than that. Like, my physicality doesn't determine where I sit in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
I look more at, well, what kind of example do I set for other men?
Mm-hmm.
That has a lot more bearing to me now.
Mm-hmm.
Am I a man that can hold space for other men?
Mm-hmm.
That feels much more important and pressing than who in this room can I take. That just seems silly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that seems like low elementary school stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it's fine to acknowledge that that's an innate biological imperative, but it's something that fades.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. I see that.
It's you know, who in here would I trust to be around you? Who in here would who in here is going to treat their family the way I think that a family should be treated? Who's going to show up for their friends the way that I would want to show up for their friends? Who's like, who's going to embody, who in here is going to embody the, you know, the character of God, you know?
You about to throw up some? Yeah, you did already.
Okay.
Embody the character of God. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I feel that. I think the feminine perspective is maybe similar. I still compare myself to other women, but the women that I surround myself with, the women that I invest in, the women that are my ride or dies, are not catty women that are involved in competition. They're women that support me and lift me up and see me, and I do the exact same thing for them.
Yeah.
I don't judge them. I don't shame them. Sure, I love them wholeheartedly, and that involves holding them accountable to the best version of themselves, but we don't waste our time on petty shit like that.
Yeah. It does become pointless. I guess the thing, if I were to tie the two together, the importance of young boys being able to establish physical hierarchy just allows for a healthier development into moving past that. You know, it's something you can get out of the way early.
How do you think that ties into the idea of understanding your masculinity? One of the paths to do that is getting in touch with your body and your physicality.
As a guy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because what if you are the kid on the playground that ranks pretty low in that hierarchy?
It's a bummer. Somebody's got to be that kid. I mean, I don't feel like there's any way to like make that, you know, a warm and fuzzy story. Like somebody's the kid that's getting bullied and getting the shit kicked out of them. Like it's a bummer. It's like an unfortunate. I mean, you know, a mother bird that has, you know, one too many offspring and one of them's weak and she can't bring enough food for all of them, she'll literally chuck them out of the nest. You know, like nature is cruel. Its mechanisms for survival are cruel. And I think as humans, we like to think somehow we are separate from that. We're above that, but I haven't seen that we are. I don't know. That's a good one. I mean, a lot of things come to mind. Like, well, then you know, there's the evidence of a lacking of healthy masculine men, fathers who would teach their sons not to prey on the kid on the playground that can't defend himself, but to be the one who comes to that kid's defense.
Share the takeaway that you had from the kids' class at Jujitsu that we watched before our class started.
So towards the end of the class, the kids were getting a spar, and it looked like these kids were probably like 10 to 15-ish, 13.
Yeah. That weird, awkward time where the girls are bigger than the boys.
Yeah, that's funny. I noticed that. Oh, and then the mom that was sitting there, you didn't see it. I don't know if both the kids were her sons. They both looked identical, but they were wrestling, and the one kid the one kid kind of popped up to his feet, and then the other one just went head first through the kid's legs and out behind the other kid. And so the mom saw it, I saw it, and we both laughed at it. That was hilarious. It was like, that's some kid shit, right? That's some kid jitsu. It's like some shit you'd see in a cartoon.
You should know this about me. I've not been genetically tested, but I'm pretty much 100% sure that I carry the gene for twins.
Really?
My grandfather was a twin, and it follows on the maternal side, and it skips a generation.
So that means if we had kids, we would maybe have twins? Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. All right. Well. All right, I'm going to head out.
Sorry, I 100% distracted you.
It's okay.
Kid jitsu.
Kid jitsu. Yeah, they were going to let the kids spar, and one of the instructors was like, if you're matched up with someone a lot smaller than you, and you'll just manhandle them, you get to face coach whoever. So they're basically saying, if you get someone who's smaller than you and you're just a bully to him, you're going to have to wrestle. You're going to have to roll with one of the coaches.
You're going to have the roles reversed, and
Exactly.
You're going to get to be bullied.
Yeah. So, what was it that I said that prompted you to?
Just that story.
Right, but I said something before that. The healthy masculine fathers that teach the kids, like, not to be the bully, but to come to the defense of the kid who can't defend himself. Yeah. I mean, I guess all I would say to that is just, you know, in that context, they were basically trying to instill in these kids, like, you have to recognize your power and your advantages and your size difference. And, you know, if you're throwing these things around here in the gym where we're supposed to show humility and where we want everyone to learn, which is what would be a great environment for life in general. You know, if you went to school and everybody was humble and wanted you to learn, and your job, like, if everywhere was like that, those would be great environments. But they were basically just saying, like, you know, have some humility with your smaller, you know, classmates, essentially. And if you don't, we're just going to put you against an adult that's going to fold you up like a lawn chair and put you in your place, you know? And there's a lot of little boys that need that, you know? for sure. Because then it's just like, okay, well, there's always a bigger fish. Like, I just threw this kid around, but now I'm getting thrown around, and hopefully if you're smart and you have good, healthy role models in your life, a lot of kids are going to be pouty and defeated by that, but hopefully you have a coach that brings you aside and says, now think about the kid you were just rolling with that you just made to feel the exact same way that you feel right now. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is where healthy masculine has made their Garden of Eden, where the feminine can come through and a man can sit down with a boy, a young boy, and say, look, you have to consider how you're making this other kid feel. You have to consider your actions in the world and how they affect people. Mm-hmm. So you just thrash this kid that's smaller and younger than you, but then you got yourself thrashed because of it. And that's a thing that's going to play out outside of this gym your whole life. Mm-hmm. What you put out there is going to come back to you. So you have to see where this kid that you're rolling with, you have to see where they're at, what they are, you have to be aware of them. Mm-hmm. You can't just be aware of yourself. You can't just give in to the impulse to want to dominate and be powerful and be strong and violent. Like you have to have the capacity for these things, but understand, the context in which they're necessary to bring out. And this is not that context. We're here to learn, and we're here to make everybody powerful and everybody competent. Mm-hmm. And you didn't do that. You didn't give that to that kid. Mm-hmm. And so now I've taken it from you, but I'm going to sit down with you and make you feel loved. And help you understand that, like, this is just a lesson. This is just a part of all of it. It's nothing to, like, you don't have to feel bad about yourself. You don't have to change. The fact that you do have, maybe you are a big kid. Maybe you are strong. You are powerful. You don't have to change that or be ashamed of it. You just have to understand it. You have to understand how that affects people around you. And so that, to me, is, like, a healthy masculine is, like, be strong, be powerful, but understand that you can't use that to take advantage of the people around you that aren't. Mm-hmm.
Too long, didn't read. Jujitsu is character building.
It's character building. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then hopefully instill some humility. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How has that played out in your own life experience? Being a 6'4" dude.
Nobody's ever messed with me.
Since what? Middle school.
Middle school was when people started catching up. I've just, I've never really experienced being bullied, other than by my father. I don't know. I've just never had to, like, physically defend myself, I guess. I think what people would assume is that because of that, it makes you walk through life feeling big and brave and confident, but it doesn't. It doesn't at all. The thing is, I guess if you're someone that's bullied, I can imagine that's horrible and, like, detrimental. If you're not physically bullied, like, it doesn't mean you don't have other insecurities. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that especially someone like me who, I like to consider myself decently observant and discerning. So for me, it was very easy to see, in school that, like, oh, there's kids that have money and come to school in, like, nice clothes and nice shoes, and, like, I don't, like, your brain finds a way to pick out the threats. Like, it finds the threats regardless. So maybe some kids get bullied, but some kids are aware that they're poor. Some kids are aware that their parents are alcoholics or drug addicts. Some kids are aware that, like, they just don't do good in school because cognitively they're just not there for whatever reason. Like, and I don't think these things, like, they don't go unnoticed. Like, whichever kid is dealing from these different, is suffering from these different things, they're all aware. Generally don't have the skills to communicate these sorts of things, but
you're just a child.
Yeah, your child.
Interesting. Sorry, not sorry. I'm distracted by the warm fuzzies.
Yeah, me too. I double shotted these.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus.
Yeah. I'm
It's
tipsy.
fine. Tipsy Kimber is just honest Kimber, so. Do you have anything else to say about jiu-jitsu?
I was glad that you recommended it. I've been trying to do it for a while. I was glad you had a good time. You looked like you belonged. Like, had you had a blue belt wrapped around your waist, it would have looked totally normal. I think it's because the shirt you were wearing looked like a rash guard, and you just, you're strong and you're physical, and you, even though I know that you have the threeness that wants to look, the part and stuff, and which you did, but I know inside you're kind of just like, but you don't, that doesn't show on the outside. You walk around with a lot of confidence, which I think is incredibly attractive. So I'm just glad you had a good time. I'm glad we did it. You either didn't have to exert as much as I did, or your cardio at this point is just better than mine. Because how many times have you seen me down on my knees after a run?
Literally one.
Okay, well.
It's when you race 35 miles. It's literally it. Any run that we've done together, you've been like, this is a walk in the park.
Well, at jiu-jitsu, after the last few rounds, every time I was in line, I was just like, oh my gosh. I'm breathing so hard.
You had to work a lot harder than I did. I've been running more than you, but I don't think that makes my cardio better than you. Our baselines are very different.
I don't know. I'm curious what your VO2 max is.
Me too.
Your watch will tell you.
It's in the 30s. That's all I know.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Oh, interesting. Mine, my highest was a 56. I'm a 49 right now.
Wow. Yeah.
Some people get into like 70s.
I think the highest my watch has ever said is like 37.
Okay. Yeah.
Checks out.
Well, you did great.
Thanks.
And you had a good time.
I did. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was exciting. The parts of us that are the best parts of us and the worst parts of us are generally two sides of the same coin. So, looking comfortable and looking confident. Sure. That's the threeness on the Enneagram. We should do a whole episode on Enneagram.
Yeah, we could. But yeah, I had a good time. I would like to go back more. I really love the gym. I love how they do just the sort of pay what you can. That they're.
I'm so curious how that works for them. I wanted to ask her if we had more time. Like, how long have you been doing this model? Is it successful for you? What are your metrics of success?
I'm sure it is.
Do you like it?
I mean, I think, there's probably not really many people that I don't think the kind of person who's willing to expose themselves like that to that sort of nobody, okay, maybe this is like correlation without causation. Maybe I'm wrong here, but to me, it doesn't seem like the kind of person who's willingly going to expose himself to an ass beating is the kind of person that's going to try to cheat a gym out of the money, I don't know, like somehow those seem related, like that there's an integrity there, and integrity requires an amount of courage. And going to jiu-jitsu requires an amount of courage. So to me, it feels like if you're the kind of person that'll show up to a jiu-jitsu gym inexperienced, not knowing what to expect, you're probably not the kind of the person that's going to want to rip the gym off. I'm sure those people are out there, I'm sure, but I just can't imagine that they have any trouble with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Their whole system is very trusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the integrity is one of the pieces that I appreciate most about the masculine. But in times when I've had to rumble with myself, some of the things that I come back to are courage, fortitude, and spunk. Spunk.
Yeah.
Like, that makes up me a little bit. But yeah, I would agree with you. The person that's going to show up at this gym is not necessarily the person that's going to say, I need to save $5 on my class today.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they create the environment that if someone were to be in that reality where $5 makes a difference to them,
they're going to let them train.
There's enough safety that they could come up and say, hey,
yeah,
this is what's going on for me right now. Can you work with me? And they would say, absolutely.
Yeah, yes. They're going to let you train. That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to pay.
Yeah.
Like, I very easily could have just been like, yeah, man, free class. But no, I wanted to. I was like, I've already had my free class. The system was just down, so I'm not in there. But
yeah,
I don't want to rip anybody off.
Value. All comes back to value. People want to shit on capitalism, but how are you providing value to society? That's a lot of value that they're providing.
Would you recommend it for more women?
I think it depends on the woman, what she wants from it.
Okay.
I think for me, no single human on this earth is 100% feminine or 100% masculine.
Sure.
Maybe they exist. They probably have a really hard life.
I think David Goggins is 100% masculine. Stay hard.
We should ask him. Podcast goals. Get popular enough to invite David Goggins. I don't know if I'd even want that.
I don't even know what I would talk to him about.
Just let him talk. That's all you could do. Anyways, if we're basing this conversation on the idea that no human on the earth is 100% feminine or 100% masculine, part of my journey of understanding and appreciating and embodying my feminine was also understanding and appreciating and embodying my masculine. Knowing that it's not the biggest part of who I am, but it's part of who I am, and it is integral and it is important. And for me, one of the biggest ways the masculine shows up is in my physicality. I will go lift weights in the gyms like a fucking bro.
Okay, wait, can we do a thing?
Yeah.
Can I tell you the ways in which I think your masculine shows up, and you tell me the ways in which you think my feminine shows up?
Oh my gosh,
and
yes.
Let's just see.
Yes.
I think that could be interesting.
Okay.
So the first thing I was going to say about you is lifting. For sure. You like to be strong.
You don't go to the gym and lift. I go to the gym and lift.
Yeah, that's what I was
saying
about
cool.
You.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you like to lift. You like to be strong. You also like to be self-reliant and competent. And I say self-reliant over independent because I think there's a distinction.
Okay.
Obviously, you have the ability to be independent if you want, but I feel like independent has this more like feminist connotation.
Yes.
So,
which is not what I want.
You like to know that you can rely on yourself if you have to, which you can, of course. You push yourself. You're accepting of being outside of your comfort zone. You like to push yourself. You like to see where your limits are. And then I guess some other things, like you're just, when you get into the mode of wanting to get things done, you're pragmatic. You want to know what and how, and then implement. And I think your desire to want to solve problems between like you and your father, Kevin, with your relationships, I still see that as a masculine trait.
Oh, interesting.
There's issues, I want to fix them. Rather than there's issues and I just want you to feel good and me to feel good. I want to actually get to the bottom of it. I want to work. Even if the work is through challenge.
Interesting. I wouldn't have considered that. That's an interesting reflection.
I think that's about all I have.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Would you add anything to that for yourself that you feel like you would want to be recognized for that I missed?
I think the only thing is when I'm in work mode, I can grind with the best of them, sometimes to my detriment. I feel like the masculine has this characteristic of wanting to work really, really hard and then rest. And work really, really hard and then rest. And the feminine almost has more of this endurance athlete quality. You're never not going to have a kid to raise. You're never not going to have a meal to make. You're never not going to have a home to keep. It's like this constant low level, there's always something.
Yeah.
But I feel like I work most efficiently when I like pedal to the metal and lay on the couch and watch Instagram reels for 20 minutes afterwards. And then spend another
20
hour.
minutes, okay.
Spend another hour just like zoned in.
Yeah.
Cranking it out.
Okay.
And then I want to go take a walk with the dog. Yeah.
Okay.
Which feels more masculine to me.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. That was a really cool reflection. Thank you. I think for you and your feminine, the biggest, most obvious way is your creativity. The way you create music and the way you want to write fiction and the way that you want to create newness in the world. Not something that's been done before. Something that's really new and creative and that uses your unique talents. I think also all the reasons that you want to become a therapist, even though you want to become a therapist for men and be a really good therapist for men, in which I know you will be, but your ability to hear someone's feelings and sit with someone in the feelings. And this is that beautiful blend between the feminine and the masculine. You have this gift that not all masculine men do of being able to hear that feelings bit. But then you can then switch over into the masculine and say, okay, what are we going to do about it? How am I going to help you solve this problem? What's the action we're going to take from this? Whereas some masculine men would just be like, all right, what are we doing about this? Let's move forward. You'd be able to say, okay, that sucks. I hear you. Let me provide some real world top level empathy to you that makes you feel really seen and heard and validated. And then, what are we going to do from that? I feel like that's a really good blend that you possess. I think also I can be the one that's more like strict about scheduling and timetables and accomplishing as much as I can in a day. And I love so much that time with you can be unstructured. And it's beautiful. And you rejoice in this freedom of the way that you spend your time. You kind of reject these really strict, I need to be doing this at this time for this amount of time. Like, time blocking would never ever work for you.
No.
You know? And I think it's kind of a part of the feminine that you embody. You want to be a little more flowy about it, a little more fluid. But in a way that still gets shit done.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just your ability to listen and communicate. Similar to what I was talking about what will make you a really effective therapist. It is a lot of men listen with aim to fix. You listen with aim to listen. And I think this, like, self-reflective nature as well. I think that's both. But your self-reflection is so poignant because there's the feminine aspect to it. Mm-hmm.
I'm tired.
Would you add anything to that before we close?
I think, I don't know if I was going to add something. I don't know if this is masculine or feminine or just human. I just genuinely want good for people.
Mm-hmm.
I think the masculine is that I'm not gonna cut anybody any slack. The masculine in me is like, I'm not gonna cut you any slack, and if you pretend to be a victim, I'm not gonna hear that. The feminine energy in me is the one that has the desire and the ability to sit, kind of as we were talking earlier, as we were going fishing about, how I have, there was the person in my class who was talking about being a victim of sexual assault and ended up later being a counselor for men who are sexual offenders. And she was like, it wasn't even until, she was basically saying it wasn't until, or she was saying that it was that getting to counsel sexual offenders, men who were sexual offenders, helped her heal from her own experience with sexual violence. And so I guess maybe the feminine part of me, of just a complete willingness to want to feel, I mean, I haven't had to do it yet, but to feel like I would want to make genuine room and space for some of the worst people. Because most of the worst people have just made really bad decisions. They're not inherently bad people. And I think it's easy for really hyper masculinity to ostracize that as just evil and say, oh, I don't have any place here. And maybe it doesn't. I mean, I don't think necessarily that love and acceptance means you still get to be a part of society. Sometimes it's between you and God. Mm-hmm. And it's not me to judge your spirit. I can maybe, take recourse on your actions. I think those are two different things, but I don't know. So maybe, yeah, if I had to add anything, just that, feeling like I can set aside enough space within myself to listen to like the worst of the worst and to still see something valuable there. To understand that, like, you didn't just decide to be a piece of shit. You just had really terrible things happen, and then you made really terrible decisions. Yeah, I guess there's like a genuine desire in me for everybody to feel powerful. I mean, yeah, I've said it. I want people around me to feel powerful. I don't know if that's masculine or feminine, though. I don't know.
I think that's your dharma.
I mean, at this point, I used to think, the masculine and feminine, it had a lot of weight, and it still does, but now, the more I explore into the Bible and God, it's like, well, it's not even me that wants that for him. It's just God wants that for him, and I'm just trying to deliver what he wants. Mm-hmm. Do you want to wrap this up?
Sounds good.
Anything you want to say?
Good talk. Go team. And then we go like this, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the fist first.
Oh. And then that.
Yeah.
Says you're ready to spar.
Yeah. And then I get swept and submitted and someone lets you win.
Okay, goodbye.